All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Renatus J.A.M. My name is Jay Stark, and joining me, as always, is my fearless co-host,
Matt Snyder.
Mr. Matt Snyder. So, Matt, welcome to our very first After Nationals podcast.
Yes. Wasn't that great?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was fantastic. Before we get into the Nationals, I have a couple of things that I need to go over just real quick. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Shoot.
All right. As part of the promotion for the Renatus National Conference, every single ticket holder was given access to a pack-driven study group that we're calling Funnel Friday Study Group with the Pack. Every single national conference ticket holder are being invited to this thing through email. So I'm going to email every single one of you. In fact, I already have, and I sent you an invite for this Friday's summit sorry, so many different words right now. This Friday's study group with the Pack, and we're bringing out Scott and Michael on our very first call to talk about and answer some of the basic questions with what funnels are and what the summit is that's coming up in May. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I need to let you all know there will be no recording.
No recording of it, huh?
None.
And I have to have a national conference ticket to be a part of this?
Exactly. You're getting it, Matthew. Thank you. Right. Yes. Yeah. There will be no recording of this, and there will be this is a live event only for people who purchase national conference tickets. So you'll get the email invite, and then you're welcome to take part with us. It's going to happen 11 a.m. this Friday is going to be our very first edition, and they're going to last about 30 minutes long. They're not going to be real long, but this is a live only event. So you have to join us in person. If you're unavailable one week, sorry that you can't be with us. Circle back the next week and take part. We tried to do it in the middle of the day to hit people on their lunch break. So if you can plan your lunch break around it, or if you are full-time as an entrepreneur, then make the time, carve out the time every Friday to join us at 11 a.m. Mountain Time.
Cool. So how do I get the recording?
Oh, man. See, this is why I love doing this with you, man. No recordings will be available, Matthew. None.
I know. I say it. I bring it up just because it's important to be clear, right? Because somebody or multiple somebodies will probably still ask for it if we don't make a point of it, and we just want to make sure that people that they understand, so that they're there, so that they don't miss it and think that there's a recording. I want to make sure people get the info.
Excellent. Now let me offer this second little tidbit in here as well. And this is a little bit of a disclaimer. This is part of how we are protecting the intellectual property of Renatus. And that is that we are asking everybody to not make their own recordings and then distribute that of any of the Renatus content, whether that's the national conference, whether that's an intensive on a Saturday, whether that's the podcasts. Well, I mean, you're welcome to share the podcast with Facebook, but whether that's
and YouTube,
any of our study groups,
and I think it's on
YouTube.
Spotify.
That's right. Yep.
I've never actually gone and looked. I just watch it on YouTube.
So anyway, any of our intellectual property we're trying to protect. So we're asking everybody not to make their own recordings and not to rebroadcast any of our content without written prior authorization. Make sense?
Clear as mud, Jay.
Yeah, buddy. All right, Matthew, it's time. Let us recap the national conference. And I can't actually see us live right now on Facebook, so I would love to get people's comments on there. But
it says we're live. Here we are. Oh, look, there I am.
You see you?
I see me. It's delayed though.
Well, it's supposed to be delayed. Live videos are always delayed.
There's a little bit of a delay. I'm waiting for my finger. I just did this.
Gosh. Okay, Matt, don't play with the delay anymore. All
All
right,
right,
here
all
we
right.
go.
Anyways, so yes, I hear that first speaker was the best.
Okay, so let's talk about this. We came out of the gate swinging at the national conference, right? So we had Mr. Matt Snyder coming out first, and he was talking about shifting your thinking, right? So Matt, tell us a little bit about Ken Roxon.
Oh man, you guys. Well, he's a famous or the top dog in the Supercross races. If you're not familiar with Supercross, it's kind of like the NBA or the NFL of dirt bike racing. It is the pinnacle achievement for the elite of the elite. People come from all over the world to race in the Supercross in the United States. But as a matter of fact, Roxon himself is from Germany, but he lives here now because he's got to get himself a title. And Roxon has had two, not one, but two, there we go, two career ending injuries where doctors literally said, like, you're not going to ride a dirt bike again, let alone be competitive. And he's come back from both of those with an extensive amount of physical therapy. And what I loved, the gist, and what I love about Ken Roxon is the positive mental mindset that he had, the determination that he was not going to be beat. He wasn't going to listen to the doctors. Sure, was he scared? Yes. He's talked about it, like there was a real fear there, but he hired a live-in physical therapist to come live with him and train him twice a day for an hour and a half each day doing physical therapy. It took him a year to get back to racing after the first injury, and he did it. And then it was another year. It was a little less actually, but after the second one, but the second one wasn't as bad. But anyways, he's back racing, man. And right now
Nice.
he's actually just a hair into second place with points. So we got 6 more races left. I'm really hoping he's just it's neck and neck, in other words, right
Nice.
now. It's fun.
Well, I loved how you talked about how you talked about a couple of keys, right? Positive thinking in the face of the negative and never quitting. And then you
Yes.
said if you don't control your thinking will control you. I love that.
Absolutely. Yes. You will blow whichever way the wind blows if you do not control your thing. Your thoughts will go. The default setting for most people in the United States, there was actually a study done where they found that across the general population, uh, people's thought processes turned to the negative 70% of the time. Just that's
Right.
the default setting. It's that fear in the mid. They call it the midbrain, right? That fear center in your brain. It kind of starts to override because that's what keeps you alive. You know, fear is healthy in many cases. And so, anyways, I could go on and on about studies. I hear that there were some other speakers at the national conference. Maybe we should talk about them.
Well, you know what? Hang on. There's a couple other things, a couple other takeaways I had. So everybody knows these are my notes from the national, right? I didn't just take one or two. I took a plethora of notes, but a couple other takeaways from yours in particular is how positive thinking, forcing yourself to think positively, can actually reprogram your brain,
Yes.
right? how,
Yes.
how if you reframe and maintain an attitude of gratitude, you can actually start to train your brain to
Yes,
yeah, be more
you can
positive.
change the default setting, if you will. It may
Nice.
take 6 months, it may take 5 years. It depends on kind of what you're starting out with, where you're at now. But yes, you
Yeah.
can literally change the default to a positive default. But it takes work. It's just like working out. It's a muscle. Your brain is a muscle, and you gotta create those neural pathways, just like you got to build up those fibers in your muscles, and it takes effort.
Yeah. Life is not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. I love that.
Yeah, buddy. Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa. All right, so we followed up right after you with Bob's introduction of his funnel journey. And he talked about how he came to the conclusion of how to use or why to use funnels and how. And then he was introduced to the guy, right? And then
The
we
guy.
brought out the guy. And
The guy.
and
I
we
love doing
spent
that.
we spent like hours with the guy. I mean, he was on stage for 2 hours, I think. We took a lunch break, and then he came back on for another hour. And even then, he just absolutely just killed it. He had so much content. Oh, he talked about how rich people think differently than poor people, but that money doesn't money is just an amplifier, right? It doesn't change whether you're a good person or a bad person, because you can be a bad person without money, or you can be a good person with money. That's the differentiator. Is not the money. The differentiator is you, right? Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
let's see here. What else? Oh, he talked about reversing the lead flow. Man, as he got into that and he started telling stories about PT Barnum. Oh, I love it when he talks about PT Barnum.
Yeah.
He's
What a
got
cool
much
story.
respect for what PT was able to accomplish. And I'm trying to remember, did he talk about Jenny Lind or did he talk about the mermaid? I can't remember which one he talked about, but
I don't either. Yeah. I
I tell you
can't
what,
remember myself.
you guys should go out and look up those stories about P.T. Barnum. First, look up the story about Jenny Lind, and then look up the story about the mermaid. I'm trying to think of where it came from. I don't remember, but they're just fascinating stories. I love how he takes classic, tried and true, time proven ideas from marketing, 150 years ago, and then applies those to today's scenarios. And it reminds me a lot of what Jeff Bezos did. So Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, asked himself, with everything that's changing in the world, what's going to stay the same? So rather than being attracted to the change, he was attracted to what was going to stay the same, and then he magnified that. So Amazon, that's how Amazon started. But then he talks about how the story amplifies value, and then and then he went into being able to tell your story and why you tell that story. And in fact, one of the things that he talked about was you should think about every single story from your life in like 5-year increments. So 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 on and up until you can have this whole library of stories that you can then share anytime that it's applicable as you're speaking with people. Um, just really really interesting. Um, Talked about the Epiphany Bridge. Talked about telling your origin story. Um, how you could, oh man, the backstory, the internal external desires, the wall, the epiphany, the plan, the conflict, the achievement and transformation. Uh, and then all of this has to do with attracting leads to you. So rather than you going out and finding the lead, instead, you are aligning with noise or creating noise and then having those leads come to you.
Yes, as I've heard before, we've talked about hunting versus fishing, if you will, or
Yes.
people they can feel it when they're being hunted, if you will, for leads, right? When you're chasing them down, trying to beat them over the head with Renatus, they feel it, especially if you're coming from a place of desperation. That is the sales guy coffin right there, is selling from a point of desperation. But anyways, I like to fish and let the fish come to me and reel them in, if you will, rather than out there and in a loincloth and a spear.
Man, you hunt different than I do. So, yeah, you know, funnels. Bob came back to this simple truth, which is that funnels increase exposure, but they won't work if you don't. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you got to get good at being able to put your funnel in the right place at the right time in order to amplify the sound that you're making.
Yes.
And then this question just came to me as I was listening to Bob talk, especially because he talks about how there's going to be these low dollar products all throughout the funnels, and how 65% of the cost of those are going to be coming back to that ICM. So
Mm-hmm.
so if somebody buys a $50 book, then 65% of that's coming back to the ICM to help compensate for their advertising costs, for their ad spend. So the question I kept thinking of, I kept coming back to, is how much money would you spend on advertising if you got every single dollar back in commissions?
All the money, even if you break even, right? Like all the money I have, that's because, gosh, even if you break even, then
Right?
those are all free leads, right? Like,
Not just free leads. These are pre-qualified buying leads, right?
yes,
These
they
are
are.
people
Yes.
that have already bought into what you're selling. So, yeah,
Premium leads. Yes.
premium leads. All right. Yeah, yeah. So then we had Dane come out, and he talked about he's got such a structured manner in going through questions on how to ask questions appropriately, how to frame questions in such a way that you can salt the conversation moving forward, creating
Yes.
that like that pressure that just takes the whole conversation forward.
When I think
And then
of Dane, I think of like heat seeking missile questions.
yes,
And somehow all of our analogies keep coming back to weaponry, but it's true. Like he asks the laser guided questions. He knows, like, he's just very good at getting the prospect to think and to respond, and kind of almost controlling the conversation through the
yes,
questions that he asks.
yes.
It's very, yeah, it's good
Yeah,
at it.
it's a whole new world. And are you ready to be the funnel? Thinking about us as the funnel, because to this point where we haven't had this funnel solution in place, we have been the funnel, right? We are the
Yeah.
ones who are qualifying our massive leads all the way down to those who are the most interested to become actual customers of Renatus. So are you the funnel? Man. And then we had Christian George come out, and then we had Mark Kohler, and then we had Troy Dunn, and Troy just left everybody in tears. I mean, that was just phenomenal. And by the way, that was just day one of our 3-day training.
Oh, it was
Oh,
this was a really good nationals. I mean, not to, break my arm patting ourselves on the back here, but I feel like, last year we kind of had to scramble to make adjustments quickly because we had like 2 weeks notice
right.
for that it was going to be virtual because of coronavirus and stuff. This year, obviously, we had things ironed out a whole lot better. I didn't hear any issues with the streaming quality or streaming issues, which was huge. But also, man, the content, the speakers, it was just. I was a little worried that it wouldn't like be a national. We all get
Yep.
together. There definitely was that was missing, but man, was it a good national. So, anyways, a lot of that credit goes to you, Jay. So you had
Well,
such a huge part in putting all that together.
you know what? We all play a part, and I love how much support and enthusiasm there was. Being able to see that virtual audience there with us, being able to
Yes.
see all the people that were interacting with us and laughing. I mean, I just think about like the 5-star winner circle, being able to have them come out and to train on what's really helped them to become the 5-star winner circle, and then doing a roundtable with them and being able to take questions from the audience and have them ask or answer those questions. Just awesome. I can't think. Just awesome, awesome, awesome. And
I
then
think Steve Nomura's speech was the best at the awards banquet.
if you
Shout
guys
out to Steve.
if you guys missed Steve Nomura's acceptance, that's really unfortunate. We cannot recreate it or do it justice. It was it
No,
was
no, we
awesome.
couldn't. It was gold.
So that was another thing I was really worried about was the award ceremony, but I thought it went so well. Being able to have people from across the nation come out live with us and to share as they were accepting their awards, as they came out onto the stream, and some people were in groups and other people were alone, and it was just awesome to see all of these people from all over the place just coming together and celebrating one another, and just awesome. And then we kicked off day 3 with Rick and Krista. They came out and just lit it up, gave us the tools. And this one, their training was gold. It was liquid gold because they gave us the tools so that we can go out there, share what we do, share how much we make, and share just how excited we are about the Renatus opportunity. And they gave us the tools to do that. And they just
So,
did such a great job.
do we know? I know that nationals again, no recording, but with that specific one, are we going to be able to put it out like a recording or something for compliance?
Yeah, that one we are actually producing right now. It does take time, but we are producing it right now, and we're going to bring it out and make sure that that all the ICMs can benefit from that because the information was so potent and so timely. It's exactly what we need to be able to move forward right now powerfully into the future. So it was seriously awesome, and we will get that out. And then we had Eric and Nancy come out, and they were talking about the changes in the road ahead of us and how the road keeps changing and there keeps being these different roadblocks. And Eric was so good about sharing exactly what some of the new hindrances are and what some of the challenges are that we now have to overcome or get to overcome, and just did a great job. And then we had Richard come out, and then Scott and Rob Sperry, and oh man, Dino. When Dino redefined humility, that was pretty powerful. I thought that was so cool. So I was really, obviously, really looking forward to the entire nationals. And anybody that's hosted a big event, you really look forward to it. And you kind of really look forward to it being over as well, because that's just a relief,
Well,
right? A lot of
as I was
pressure.
going to say, it's a big relief when it's all done and there were no major issues or anything like that. Definitely, we want to make sure it goes smoothly and it was a success. And so, yeah, you get to the end of that and you're like, all right. But it always makes me sad at the end of it too. It's like
Right?
the end of a good trip, like a good vacation, like you're excited and like in my opinion, the perfect vacation, at the end of it, you kind of want to go home, but you're also sad that it ended. And that's the way I felt about nationals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But then having Dino come out, and he defined humility as knowing you are a genius at something that everyone in front of you isn't, and knowing that they are too. I love that definition
Me
because
too.
because I've always been caught up in the idea that yeah, it's not okay to tell somebody that you're better at something than they are, even when it's true. And it's like, no, it really is okay because we're all good at things differently. And
Yeah.
and we can be the best in the world. I love how he says that. Hi, my name's Dino Watt. I'm the best in the world at what I do, and I believe, or I'm standing in front of a crowd of people that are the best in the world at what they do, or at least I
Or
hope
at
they
least
think
I hope
so.
so.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes. So
yeah.
good, man. I loved his speech. As a matter of fact, my notes right here, right? Like, uh, fantastic content. I
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
loved Dino's. Everybody, I mean, crushed it. It was, yeah,
So,
such a good
so
national.
oh yeah, and then having him say, "Once you know one body, you know everybody." I love that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. But he talked about how 10% is communication. You communicate through words. 35% is tone, and 55% is body language. And then he broke down the shell, right? The shoulders, hands, eyes, lips, and language. Oh,
Yes, he
So
did.
cool. So great. And then Woody
And
came
I wrote
out
that
and
down.
just, yeah, Woody came out and just lit it up. And then we just tied the whole thing in a bow with Mr. Bob Snyder. And it was an amazing 3 days of just, just the best content that we need today. The information that we can use today to just propel our business forward in a new powerful way. I am just so grateful that we were able to have the national conference, even if it is in this format, but to be able to share. And for any of you that haven't looked in the Facebook group, go back and look at the Facebook group and see just the hundreds, if not thousands, of comments that are out there about the aha moments and the takeaways that people had after every single instructor, after every single person sat down. Facebook would just light up with all of these comments. They'd light up with all of these ideas and these moments where people were like, "Oh, that right there is going to change things for me." And I think that's just a wonderful opportunity for people to interface. Anyway, I truly, truly loved it. It was an amazing 3 days, and I loved how people were sharing, both from the stage and behind the scenes as people were sharing on social media their takeaways. I want to make sure that people are continuing to keep that energy high, right? They're still keeping all of those principles front of mind, top of mind, so that they can go out there and kill it in a more powerful way. So I'm super excited that we got to do this recap today and talk a little bit about what some of the key takeaways were. And Matt, who would you say, outside of yourself, who would you say was the best presenter?
Oh, you had to take that away from me. Okay, I'm just kidding. Best presenter. I still think it's hard to beat Bob Snyder. Uh, Such a powerful speaker, such a dynamic and engaging speaker, and never get stuck in the rut. Anyways, a lot of things I can learn from him, speaking wise and delivery wise, and his content was fantastic. The things he talked about. I quite enjoyed Troy Dunn's vulnerability. Sometimes I think people, we put people on pedestals, sometimes naturally speaking, and it's good to remember everybody's human regardless of where they are in life, and everybody, is vulnerable. And so I loved his vulnerability. I thought it was great, and I thought his speech was great. Dino, dude, I'm just gonna run back through the list that you just went through. That's what I'm gonna end up doing. There were so many good ones.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Yep. I loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. And it was amazing to be with our community once again, even in a virtual format. It was truly awesome. All right. Well, that's been our very first Renatus J.A.M. now that we are post-nationals. So glad that you guys could tune in. Make sure that you join us again next week. Next week, we have Mr. Nate Lambert lined up, who's going to join us and share some of his insights and takeaways on what he's doing today that made him the #1 income earner for personal production inside of Renatus. So awesome. Can't wait to see you guys all there. Don't forget, the reason why Renatus rocks is because of the people who are associated with it. Thanks, everybody. Renatus rocks.